Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Penny Bloom podcast. 'Tis I, Colton Robertson, and I'm joined by none other than the magnificent Tavarus Pennington. What's up, homie?
What's going on?
I'm just chilling today. First remote episode for you and I. We've never done this.
Yes, it is. So it's we're waiting in suspense to see if the chemistry kicks off like it normally does.
Oh, it's there. It's there, and
there.
you know it.
No, it's there.
It's there, and you know it. Nobody lie to themselves.
I can see your beautiful face. That's enough. You can't see mine, but I don't have. Unfortunately, I'm sorry.
So today we're going to be talking Zack Snyder's Justice League. I'm very excited to talk about that. We're joined by another friend, another guest named Tillman McClunie. I'm excited to have him on. He'll be joining us for the Falcon and Winter Soldier over the next 6 weeks or so. So I'm very excited to have him on for this little test run of sorts, you know? I'm ready. You ready?
I like to do those here.
I love it. I love it. Shall we roll the tape?
I believe we shall.
Welcome to the Penny Bloom podcast. Ain't another place that has got more bombast. Romp past your mom, dads, listening to Tomcats, talking everything that make you sad. We don't want that. We're here to make you smile. Put your mind at ease. Peace, love, and bloom, and always praise Keanu Reeves. This what we about. This some weeding now. We'll talk until we can't no more, and then we peacing out. All right, let's go. Penny Bloom podcast. It's the Penny Bloom podcast. Penny Bloom podcast. It's the Penny Bloom podcast. Penny Bloom podcast. Penny Bloom podcast.
And now joining our call to discuss Zack Snyder's Justice League, we have Tillman McClunie. What's up, buddy?
Tavarus and Cora, how you guys doing today? I'm happy to be here.
Oh, I'm happy to have you here, buddy. I'm real excited to talk Justice League because, as you and I both know, when we were living down in Mizzou, we had a special bond created over this, the voiceover video of the Justice League. I mean, who could forget?
Wait, I'm looking at this video.
That must be jam because Jelly don't shake like that.
Know how to cash a check.
But for a long time throughout, I'd assume most of our lives, as Tillman, I know your favorite superhero for a long time was Flash from a young age. Tavarus, I know the same. Mine was always Batman. So we're coming from a well-versed Justice League background here, I feel like.
Looks like we have good taste, Tavarus.
Yeah, you know, great minds think alike.
Basic Batman fan.
I mean, I'm cool with Batman in one sense, but there's a lot of beef I got with Batman too now. Like he's a billionaire, and like obviously he could do a lot more productive stuff with his money, but he decides to, put on a bat suit and fight people who are selling drugs, and that's
yeah.
That's something.
Yeah, he could have picked I don't know, more nuanced way of doing it. He was just kind of like, I'm rich, I know how to fight, and I know I want to take my anger out somewhere. So the only place that society will legally allow me to do that is if it's against the criminal. Not that it's legal at first, It's just he has to prove to him. He's like, hey, I promise, I'm only beating up the bad guys, and then him and the police can work together.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd say that this role is probably the most productive use of Batman there is, in terms of using his resources.
Oh yeah,
and actually putting use to his money by recruiting the Justice League and building the tech they need in multiple situations to get them in and out and get moving and stuff. He's definitely a good ringleader in that he does have billions of dollars.
Yeah, and he even says that in the movie when Flash is like, "What's your superpower?" He's like, "I'm rich," and that is quite the superpower.
Mm-hmm. No, man, bought a bank, saved Superman's house. Look, if that's not the most useful thing Batman's ever done, I don't know what is.
Nah, see, that was some dope shit too. I was like, okay, so Bruce Wayne's just got the money to be like, that house is getting foreclosed. No, it's not. That's my bank now. That's wild.
You buy the bank. You just buy the fucking bank. I don't know.
But
I think that they did a Zack Snyder first, because I think a lot of this podcast is going to go with us just kind of praising Zack Snyder and his directorial choices, but laying off of Batman as like a real like fighter or something, or like this person whose abilities were able to meet Superman's, like
yeah,
based on his own like sort of efficacy. Like that's not at all what the story of Batman is. Batman is a story about a rich man who happens to develop the technology that's advanced and sufficient enough to stand up against Superman. And so they place a lot of emphasis on his run to technology, which I thought was cool because Christopher Nolan's Batman does that, but less so. You go to Christopher Nolan's Batman to watch him beat up some punks.
Well, and that's what's cool about Ben Affleck's Batman is that, like, I like him a lot as Bruce Wayne. Like, as Bruce Wayne, he's probably my favorite Bruce Wayne ever, Ben Affleck, because you get to focus a lot more on that side of him, I feel like. Because even when he is Batman, no other Batman reminds me of just Bruce Wayne in a costume than this Batman for some reason. I don't know how to explain that further, but like, it doesn't seem like this Batman has like tons of fighting prowess. Like, obviously he does, he's Batman, but like, that's not what's being put on display. It's his intelligence and his savvy with technology and stuff. Like, he's a smart guy rather than an overpowering guy.
Yeah.
Which I'll say, I definitely agree with that. Like, when I first watched Batman versus Superman, and in Justice League, the first one, I took note more of. I thought Ben Affleck was a great Bruce Wayne. I won't lie. At first, I was like, I don't like Ben Affleck as Batman. He doesn't get off the Batman persona. But being able to mature more about it and just look deeper as a Bruce Wayne, he was fantastic. And like Tavarus spoke of Christopher Nolan's Batman. And you guys, either you or Tavarus spoke of that was more of, you watch him beat up punks. The man will take on a whole brigade trained by deadly assassins, been on the brink of death multiple times, and just a strong martial arts fighter. And I will say, at first I was thinking, I was like, the Snyder made Batman look kind of weak in these movies. I was like, he can't hang in it. But like I said, I matured more enough to see, he uses his Bruce Wayne assets more to his ability, and that is personified in his character more than a butt-kicking Batman,
Yeah.
Well, and that's what I like too about this movie is the final nail in the coffin, like what wins this battle is not Batman and Superman. It's Cyborg and Flash who are like ultimately the undoing. Which is wild to me. Like, the fact that you make a Justice League story that doesn't cultivate... I mean, Superman was huge. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, without Superman, they don't end up where they end up. But, I mean, Flash had to reverse time and do that, like, to save Superman even.
I think that's them calling back to the comics, because I was far more well-versed in the DC comics, like, senior year of high school. But, like, from what I remember, I know for a fact, like, the Darkseid threat is pretty much the pinnacle threat for Barry Allen's Flash. Like, that is the one where correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that the one where he runs back in time and then gets lost
creates Flashpoint.
He creates Flashpoint, gets lost until Wally brings him back. Like, that's a crucial plot line for the story of Barry Allen that spanned probably close to 50 years at this point. So yeah, like it needed to be a story with the Cyborg and Flash getting their shine. And that's why I think it begins with Cyborg and it ends with Cyborg.
Which is also kind of interesting because, like, you spoke of the comics and the Flashpoint and that, and there's there's different Flashpoints that we see throughout the DC universe in movies, TV shows, and the comics. In the TV show, when I was younger on Boomerang and Cartoon Network, his Flashpoint was when they had to fight Lex Luthor, and Lex Luthor took down Superman, Batman, the whole Justice League was down, and Flash was the one who ran all the way across the world to smack him in the face multiple times into the I remember that. Hot Girl had to bring him back in that instance. He just like disappeared into some type of parallel universe or something, or the next stage of life or something. I don't know what it was, but she had to pull him out of there.
Tab, what was the CW Arrowverse's version of Flash's Flashpoint? I can't remember what caused it. Like
it was that was after the season with with Savitar. It was with Savitar.
That's right.
And he runs back in time, like corrects the thing that makes Savitar, but then I think that's what happened. And then he lived in that alternate universe for like a month with everyone alive.
Mm-hmm.
But that was just a weird reverse Flash story. I'm not gonna lie, I gave up on CW's Flash. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know. It went off the rails to me.
Oh, and they're all those are like so incredibly campy that they're bound to go off the rails. Like it's just like they can't work for an extended period of time, and it's impossible to wrap shows like that up with a superhero, you know, besides killing them. Like it's just there's no satisfying ending for the Flash where like crime doesn't exist and he gets to just go back to being Barry Allen, and that's that, you know. Like there's always going to be a threat. Like that's just always the case, and that's why they have to keep going until, you know, ultimately a hero or something dies.
Right, which is why I think all of these multiverse like conversations are really compelling, because they ultimately are going to be the cure to these like myriad of stories that have started and ended, and like fans at this point are getting inundated with different interpretations of characters that they don't like know how to even prioritize. They don't know which characters are more legit than the other ones, or which ones tell a more true story. And I think the point is to just realize that they're all true stories in their own right. And let's just say this one happens in Universe 212, and that one happens in fucking Universe 2. Like
exactly. I'm with you there. I'm with you 100%. I mean, that's a fun storytelling tool. It does, like, it's not, it doesn't have to be that it takes away from the continuity of the universe overall. It can just be that like we're creating stories, and like, and maybe at this point that's what the DC universe should be like, because they're probably not gonna do what Marvel did. I don't think they have the capacity to do that at this point. Like, they might as well just go with this Snyder Cut direction kind of, and be like, because as far as I'm concerned, now that Snyder's out, like this is just it for him. This is a standalone movie. There will be nothing that expands upon this really, besides like their own spin-offs and stuff. But like, it won't be helmed by Zack Snyder, and therefore it won't be like exactly what he visioned for this storyline turning into.
Right.
You know? But I think that they should just, I like standalone DC movies, man. I don't need a bunch of interconnected stuff from them.
Oh yeah, no, I like getting just like someone who you can tell is kind of a comic nerd, given the ability to write a comic script, direct the comic movie, and then just ball out. Just do whatever do whatever you feel like needs to be done, because in the same way that we were blown away when we find out Zack Snyder's cut is 4 hours long, is the same way we were blown away when we realized how long the ending of like Marvel was like
Endgame. Yeah, that was going to be 3 hours. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 3 hours. Well, it's 3 hours per movie, wasn't it? Or was it 3 hours total?
It was like 2.5 hours and then 3 hours for Endgame.
And then 3 hours for Endgame?
Yeah, it was 2.5 hours for Infinity War, 3 hours for Endgame.
So that's five. That's about 5-ish hours total to finish a line of stories about 5 to 6 superheroes. That's like,
and I mean,
maybe that's just how much time you need.
And that's what's interesting about this too, is that like, the key difference between Marvel's Infinity War and Endgame thing is that they took the opportunity to make 2 movies, a part where they failed and a part where they ended up winning. And the problem with Justice League, and the problem they had with the 4-hour version of it originally, is they were like, fuck man, we got to condense the story. And in reality, if you split it up into 2 movies, it probably ends up working better.
Right. Or if you just, I don't know, do some shit like Marvel did. It's like, hey, instead of just being like, oh, we got to pick and choose which movies we're going to go for because we can't make them all. No, we'll just plan to make movies for the next 20 years. And you can just rest assured that you will get the entirety of the story done accurately.
Yeah.
It'll just take us 20 years. And I think fans will be okay with that.
Overall, how did you guys feel about the 3x4 layout? Instead of going widescreen with it, he went with that kind of vintage noir thing. I'll start with Tillman.
I thought it was very respectable in the aspect of, like I said at the beginning, it was like we're trying, this is 3x4 to
honor the director's vision.
On the director's vision, to keep it distinct from the other one, as in this is his vision that he had for it. It's different. It's going to be like, I didn't know to what extent it was going to be different. I was like, it's going to be like, deleted scenes, had it in, but no, just plot was altered and lines were altered.
Movie.
There's things inside of the movie that weren't inside of the original movie that they just added in. But yeah, I respected it because I as you said, and it's like, because, people are like, how are people going to know mine from other people's? But with that, that's like showing that this is his. This is his. This is not.
This is his signature for this movie.
Yeah. And it's symbolism that this is not the same movie. This is Zack Snyder's movie.
Yeah, that's hella dope. I don't know anyone else who's been able to get a movie redone that had already come out, done terribly, have it redone, put your name in front of it, and then be like, here's the better version that they turned down. Like that's I don't know, that's a power move right there.
100%. And like it sucks that a 4-hour movie was necessitated to tell this story. Like, you should be able to get it done faster, properly.
No, I don't think so. I don't think there's any expectation of that. We don't know these characters other than Superman and Batman from Superman versus Batman and Superman from Man of Steel. Those two characters who are like really not like we understand enough, but Flash, Cyborg, Wonder Woman, Aquaman. At that point, I feel like we had absolutely no grounding for them to make them interesting, and so like
I feel you.
Justice League just kind of shoehorned all of that work into about 30 minutes. And it was like, well, I saw their faces. I saw them in their outfits. I don't know these people.
Yeah, 100%. And we talked about this last week on the pod about how it was just the events. It wasn't the story. It was just like, okay, get the team together, resurrect Superman, defeat the enemy. That's that. We're not going to elaborate on the story at all. We're just going to go for it. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be it. What's up, Till?
I was going to say, to piggyback off of Tavarus, because like when I think that just a little bit, I feel like DC may have been, felt pressured in a way as well. Marvel has dominated the movie theatrical scene for over 12 years, about 13 years now. And I wonder if, DC felt like, our last big thing we put out was Dark Knight. Warner Brothers and DC, it was like, the last thing we put out was Dark Knight. We need to get something out there. And I just remember reading back in school just that at first Wonder Woman wasn't even going to happen. People thought that it wouldn't get enough views, that people weren't going to come out and see it, that it wasn't going to make money. And so, I feel like maybe they felt as if they were saving time and money by not making a Cyborg movie or by making a Flash movie. Let's think about when we think about the Avengers. Hawkeye didn't have a movie. Black Widow's just now getting her movie. She didn't have her movie before. And so there's people, in the superhero universe who didn't get movies. But I honestly feel like, I think we would have respected, as true fans, I think true fans would have respected like a Cyborg movie or a Flash movie. But
100%. And that's what's cool is that now I think a Cyborg movie is even more marketable because like before, like I didn't like Cyborg. I had no interest in Cyborg. He was just kind of there. And I was kind of like, why is he the center of this movie when they barely told the story about him originally, back in 2017. But now you get so much more Cyborg. Like his whole story was pretty much my favorite part of the movie.
I felt like it was largely the emotional backbone of the film. Cyborg, and Lois Lane. Lane's story arc. Because those are both sort of arcs that, and also kind of back to how I felt about the 3x4. I think the noir effect of the film, at least for that first 15 minutes or so, I don't remember many words. I just remember sort of very slow, methodical noir-esque scenes of.
Well, yeah, because it starts with
trying
that
to,
the end
set
of
the
Batman
background.
vs Superman,
and I think it was to try to heighten the intensity of the viewer going in, so that you understand what this is truly a story about. And it's not a story about necessarily defeating the bad guy, because that's what that's what a bad action, or that's what a bad superhero movie is about. Obviously it's going to be about killing bad guy. It's really a story about redemption, about learning more about yourself, and it's about a story about love, all these general concepts that I feel don't get the Justice League that they thought would sell. They were like, no, we need to get rid of all of that, because that's not marketable to our audience or whatever. But that is what makes it a good movie. And it's the same thing that I think I forgot the guy who did the Joker, but what's that director's name?
Oh yeah.
Todd Phillips.
Todd Phillips, yeah. I think that's the same thing that Todd Phillips understood too when he went in on his Joker film, which was that it's not a story about a bad guy. It's a story about these very human emotions.
When you were talking about the beginning of the movie, were you talking about the 3x4, the Snyder's Cut, Tavarus?
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
He's just kind of used, because I remember I was watching it yo, this is a serious movie. What the fuck? This ain't no Justice League. This is he's trying to.
He was trying to be artful. Yeah.
Because what I was gonna say was that what we got from the 4 hours that I felt was so necessary was the humanization of the characters. You talked about it's not about winning, and it's not about being the bad guy. This movie started off with loss, pain, and wanting to be able to feel that and understand that. The heroes, similar to Endgame, we got our butts kicked, in a way. They killed Doomsday and Justice League, but we lost our greatest hero. We lost our golden boy. I lost a husband. I lost a father to my child that hasn't been born yet. Batman. I lost an ally that initially 2 hours before I was trying to kill. And so we got the humanization of each character, because especially with Cyborg, we didn't cover his accident or his longing for his dad to come to his football game, and his pain and his suffering. He was just a kid in a room that was like, hey, why are you following me? And then met her on the street. We didn't get the same thing with Barry. We got a little minute of him.
Barry Allen backstory.
Basically, Allen,
he's visiting his father in prison, and he's like, I'm studying criminal justice. You know this about Barry Allen though. That is Barry Allen's story.
Those films, those scenes though, were very at least those were nostalgic for me on the terms of the Flash the CW show, because I remember those scenes being some of my favorite. He was
100%
trying to get him out of prison. It's just a real moment with his character.
Yeah, and with his dad especially, I was going to say the fact that we got to see multiple times where he spent minutes. We got to see minutes, multiple periods of time with these characters. That scene with his dad in the Snyder Cut was so long. I got to see the emotional pain that his father had of watching his son try to fight and continue trying to hold on past his dad was like, look, make your own future. And that we didn't get that in the original Justice League. So it was so much easier to connect with these characters I admired so much, all of them in every single way.
Oh, and that make your own future line was powerful. As soon as he said that, I was like, oh shit, because I knew that it was gonna it's the Flash who travels back in time to essentially correct the future, so that Lois Lane doesn't die, and it's those little seeds in there, those are the makings of a great movie, and those are the seeds that just simply they decided did not need to be in there. And I'm like, there's no continuity within the story. There's no continuity beyond the story, because after you make that first theatrical release of Justice League, what is the next movie even about?
You're right. I don't even know. I'm thinking it was probably Aquaman.
Well, I'm saying the next Justice League movie, right? Is the next Justice League movie just another one of those threats that gets resolved by the end of the movie? because like it seems like it would have been, more in their ballpark to set up a villain for a couple movies, as the epilogue actually did, and as they decided to mostly leave out for some reason.
Well, yeah,
epilogue
it's
was
that
fire.
dark side element. Yeah,
Uh-huh. That epilogue was pure fucking fire. I was like, yo,
that
how,
was gas.
why would you take this out? Like, this is what, even if the movie is terrible, up until that last, like, 10 minutes where you show the epilogue, if people watch the epilogue, they will at least give whatever film you're putting out next a try.
Oh, absolutely. We got in that epilogue, we get fucking Deathstroke, we get Lex Luthor, we get Joker, we get a dark Superman who's like a minion of Darkseid. Like, that shit is awesome. And we got, I mean, obviously spoilers, Martian Manhunter at the very, very
Martian
end.
fucking Manhunter. I was like, yo, what the fuck? Like,
And they showed you that he's been here. He was
Yeah.
he was in Man of Steel.
Mhm.
He was in, like, as a government agent. Like, he's been here the whole time, and I love that.
Yeah, no, that was perfect. I was like, this is what I want. Like, this is like, there is no potential to even theorize before they came out with the Snyder Cut. The Snyder Cut, it just scratched that theorization itch.
Scratch it.
That's what's necessary when you're doing films like these, though.
And I would say, yeah, the epilogue. That I know we'll probably get to that later if I'm not mistaken, Colton.
No, just go ahead.
I'll just say that the original Justice League ended with the line, well, with Lex Luthor on the boat with Slade, and he was like, well, shouldn't we have a league of our own? And then it goes off to the end of the movie. But the epilogue, after such an impactful movie, and you get this epilogue with, a what if or a what may be, an alternate universe, that was like a cherry on top. I was like, oh my gosh, that's the thing that we see at the end of Marvel movies. We're like, oh my gosh, like, what are we gonna do with this? Are we gonna make a movie out of this? Can we do something with this? Can we do something like what are we gonna do with this? Like, and just like has you wanting that eagerness and that waiting to get the next thing, the next possible thing, and the next possible part of the story, the next chapter. And so I thought the epilogue was just key at the end, because there was just a way to keep you intrigued. Like, oh, there's more directions. I want more.
Yeah, and there was a ton of different directions you could go from there, like a ton.
And what I really enjoyed, and one of the things that stood out that I wasn't sure was gonna, end up landing as well as it seemed, was Jared Leto's Joker popping up.
Oh.
And I loved that scene personally. I think this is the best iteration of Jared Leto's Joker by far so far. This was his best Joker scene by far. There are people saying this is the best interaction between Batman and Joker of all time.
Oh my gosh! Oh my, I'm leaving the podcast right now. How dare you say that?
I was looking out.
I didn't say it. I said that some people have said it.
I know.
I for one think the best Batman Joker interaction was in the interrogation room in Dark Knight.
That was the first thing that popped in my head. I was like, it was good, but it wasn't that. That was something else.
Yeah, and I mean, like, if we're like, you put it side by side, you got fucking Jared Leto and Ben Affleck versus Heath Ledger and Christian Bale.
I'm sorry, Jared Leto's never going to be Heath Ledger.
No,
Heath Ledger is. I will die before somebody gives a better Joker performance than Heath Ledger.
But me and Colton also talked about, like, with each Joker we see in these movies, they all carry somewhat of a different persona.
Oh yeah.
So I try to look at Jared Leto's Joker and see in the direction and try to judge him based off of the direction that they wanted him to go. And we had a more realistic Joker, just kind of like crazy, just kind of, I mean, not exactly similar to comics because he wasn't really laugh gassing anybody. Heath Ledger wasn't like laugh gassing anybody, but that persona of just craziness and laughing with like a knife in or a fist in your face.
Yeah.
That was, so much similar to comics. I think we love that one because it's so much. I mean, he played the hell out of his part. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, it was just good acting.
Yeah. And then with the Joker we just saw, that one was, it was more about like, kind of like, about somebody with like mental health illness, mental health awareness. He was like actually just messed up in the head. And, so I try to look at the Jokers differently, but like if we were talking about our favorite performance, yes, I would be like, in the direction they wanted to take Heath Ledger's Joker, I thought he did that the best. But I also try to keep an open mind on. Me and Colton talked about like a gangster Joker Jared Leto was or whatever,
Maybe we need to distinguish between two, like Joker the character and Joker and Batman, because Joker and Batman are that's a whole nother. You can have a great Joker the character, but he might interact terribly with Batman, which
100%. And one thing that I saw, another thing that people complained about in that scene is Batman using guns. Batman promising that he will, quote, fucking kill him. People didn't like the F-bomb there either from Batman, but I don't give a shit about that. And then I think those were the two main things. But
I think it's just
the guns thing is fair.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I think it's so. Did you ever look into the Injustice storyline?
Video game?
Yeah, I see Tillman. No, just like the video game too, and the comic storyline behind it. Like
I was talking to Colton about that. Yep.
Yeah, that shit. Like I think I feel like they were alluding to that storyline, which is probably one of my most favorite DC storylines.
So interesting.
Because it starts if I remember. Does it start with Superman killing Joker, or was it Batman killing Joker?
No, it was Batman confronting Joker in the interrogation room. Was like, "Do you actually know what you've just done?" And then Superman just breaks the wall, and then kind of just like
he killed Lois, didn't he?
He made Superman hallucinate, and Lois was the bomb carrying Superman's unborn child. He made Superman think that Lois was like a bomb. He was not aware at all that it was Lois. And the bomb was set to detonate Metropolis. It was a nuclear bomb set to detonate Metropolis once Lois, the bomb, got out of the atmosphere, the Earth's atmosphere. And so when he took her out of the Earth's atmosphere, Metropolis blew up and killed over 5 million people. And so but also killed Lois Lane. Because she died up in space, Elizabeth, and his unborn child. And so Joker just continued to taunt Superman while he's pinned against the wall, and Superman just sticks his hand in and just rips his chest out. And I was talking to Colton about that just Tavarus, so I'm gonna let you guys talk about that, and I'll come in at the end.
Yo, I'm gonna tell you, if there's anything that will break Superman, that is that. Like, it's nothing. I mean, it's hard to get to Superman, I feel like, and I feel like the best way to do that is kill Lois Lane while simultaneously tricking him and killing 5 million people at the same time.
Yeah, double whammy.
Yeah, like it's like just killing Lois Lane. I don't know if that's enough. Like, I feel like that would make him upset, right?
Yeah.
But it's the fact that he was tricked, and then also because of what he did, killed 5 million people. Like that's.
What happens after that is like it's all out. It's like everything is in upheaval. Like that's where you get Slade Wilson running with Batman and the Flash and Joker and Mira. Like that's how you get to those outcomes. Though I feel like is when you do some drastic shit like that, and especially like the world and how like because they flashed to this world multiple times, and it just looks
the nightmare world.
Yeah, nightmare world. I always think of it as an apocalypse world, though. It seems like something
100%.
happened, and it was probably Superman's fault, or Superman had something to do with it, and Batman knew about it, and also kind of had something to do with it.
Well, judging by this post-credit scene, it seems like Superman's kind of a servant of Darkseid.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely think that's what happened there. All I'm saying though with the Injustice storyline is that like I think that you can see how he's kind of trying to like Zack Snyder was pulling together the threads of the most famous DC comics into an original film, which is like one awesome, and two just like a better way to tell a story, a comic story about characters that you aren't making up, characters that do in fact already exist and that have backstories and that have motivations and that have certain triggers. He was really like feeding into the nerd of it all.
Oh, 100%. It was And just that epilogue, like, I want that story. I want that story told.
Oh yeah.
I want that story expanded upon, because we've never gotten anything like that superhero wise. A post-apocalyptic world where the greatest hero there is has broke bad.
And
like, what do you even do then?
You even have to question if the heroes themselves are heroes still. Like, if like they're fighting back against Superman is even something to you have to start to, and this is what Endgame figured out. I feel like is that you have to really start to problematize what it means to be a hero and what it means to be a villain, because once those notions get sort of blurry and unclear, then you have space to do something new and original, and something that I don't know, is just like sticks out. Zack Snyder's cut will stick out because he did something that I think is new and original.
100%. And I like the idea that in that post-apocalyptic world, you're talking about blurring the lines between good and evil. Superman's perspective supposedly isn't one of malice. It's one of like, I'm preventing any war from ever happening again.
Yeah, and then in the Injustice storyline, when he lost Lois, and he was, because Superman is always the argument that it always comes to is when they're like, oh, well, Batman, he can fix Superman's weakness. Is Superman, it take 1 second for him to fly through Batman or do anything, but Superman chooses to be a guardian and chooses to go about the right way of doing things. But when he lost Lois in the Injustice comics and in the game, he was like, you know what, I do have the power to just stop all this. He's like, if I wasn't so nice, none of this would have ever happened. And it's funny part is in the Superman, how you talked about him being like a servant. It did seem like he was being a servant of Darkseid. And I watched a video on it, and it kind of was like, yeah, because you also see Darkseid put his hand on Superman in a way like, oh, poor you, like,
poor guy,
poor guy. Like, think about it. Like, you come work for me, we can make sure that this world just runs how we want it, and that there's no war, no nothing. And so it's kind of like, yeah, Superman goes, I do have, and like kind of like in Injustice, because Injustice is just Superman. He's the tyrant, and he's kind of like, yeah, he ceases all wars, and he's like, if you don't comply with what this world order, I will kill you, or I will send one of my heroes or villains that I've recruited to work for me, or I told them, I'll kill you, and you can work for me, or I can kill you. And so it's kind of like, I can, like, I it's not like I support it, but I'm kind of like, Superman, like, grew some balls, and he was like, well, I'm not putting up with this shit anymore.
And that's the thing, is that he's got the power. Like, that's always been the balance with Superman, is he has the power to take over the world, and that's always the concern surrounding Superman, is that if he wanted to, at any point, he could end the world if he wanted to. Like, that's an untouchable amount of power.
They need to capitalize on that, because that's something that Marvel can't really do. Like, I don't think Marvel has any hero.
They don't have a Superman, no.
They don't have a Superman. Captain America would get his shit rocked by Superman, bro. Like,
oh yeah. Bro, the only two people that I can think would even come close, maybe, is Captain Marvel or Scarlet Witch. Yeah. Scarlet Witch, almost definitely. I think Scarlet Witch might be the most powerful being in comics besides Dr. Manhattan and the Watchmen. But, I mean,
yeah, it's just like
nobody's fucking with Superman.
No, nobody's fucking with Superman. And so they need to really, like, think about how crazy of a story that would be to tell, right? About the Superman that goes evil. And he's alluding to that throughout this film. And
oh yeah, he takes up the darker colors for Superman.
I just cannot for the life of me figure out why some studio execs saw the Snyder Cut, and they're like, we're gonna get rid of all that shit, all that comic-y shit. Nah, not making the money. Like, bro, fuck the money. I'm trying to tell a good story. Like, that's gotta be the outlet.
Yo. And we also got Superman at the end, back in the city as Clark Kent. I wonder if anyone's suspicious at all. Like, oh, Superman died. Clark Kent disappeared for a few weeks.
I still have no clue how that man has a secret identity. It makes no fucking sense. He just literally puts on glasses, and they're like, oh, where did Superman go? Like he could have his
Yeah,
whole ass
exactly.
cape on. He just put on some some glasses. They'd be like, he's gone. How did he go so quickly?
One interesting thing I thought about that last scene with Superman in it is that, like, even after all this, he sticks with the black and silver
Yeah.
get up instead of switching back to the blue and red. Like, it's like it wasn't just a temporary thing. This is now his Superman suit in this storyline.
I think that was to allude to the possibility of down the line, because they play a bunch of throughout, like in the film, they play a bunch of alternate clips from alternate futures, and like I think they kind of wanted to leave it open that you haven't completely resolved the possibility that Lois Lane does die.
Well, yeah, like Batman says, he had that quote vision where, Barry Allen is standing next to him, and he tells him that Lois Lane is the key, like that there's something much darker at hand here, and like if they wanted to go that route one day where Lois Lane gets capped and Superman loses it, I would support that storyline. It would be so fucking cool.
I would too. I'm not gonna lie. Like I know you got to tell a redemption story. It's a superhero movie. It's gotta be happy, heartfelt by the end or whatever. But like that's not what DC Comics is. Like DC Comics is from what I can tell, they're just like I don't know. They're the type of motherfuckers that create a Gotham City, a place where crime just happens fucking for no reason, and it's everywhere.
Yeah, and and that's what I like about the setup here at the end of this is that like they do leave that opportunity for redemption by giving him someone he's serving. By making Darkseid the bigger bad, more in control than Superman is, it gives him that opportunity to turn on Darkseid instead of just all of a sudden changing his mind. And ultimately, what that story would have to culminate in is Superman dying, defeating Darkseid. Like because it's the Darth Vader argument. Like once he's gone that bad, he can't just turn around and be like, "Okay, guys, I'm a good guy now." Like he was done for.
Which in the Injustice, video game, like. They tried to turn back and was like, "This isn't what Lois would want or anything," because what happened was the same little bomb thing was happening in both universes, except this one was the future of it if the bomb went off, and this other one was the bomb hadn't even gone off yet, and so they were trying to figure that. But somehow the heroes from the past timeline got switched into the future dystopia timeline, and they had to fight themselves and take on Superman. They tried to talk to Dictator Superman. Dictator Superman was like, nah, homie, like, I'm on gang now. Like, he was like, I'm not changing that. You can't change me, homie. I ain't going back.
You come around this way, you will get clapped.
Yeah, you will get clapped. And so they essentially had to lock him up in a kryptonite. At the end of the storyline, they had to lock him up in like a little kryptonite cage because he was refusing to turn back to. I think, when him losing Lois, I think at that point Superman is just far gone. I don't see him coming back from that because I don't think in any timeline or storyline he loses Lois and he just can get over that, man. He just can't. It's just whatever. I mean, like, dude lost his dad. Superman said, "Fuck it, my mom might as well die as long as I got Lois." Yeah, like chilling. If Lois dies, Superman is gone. Just done with. But how epic would that to see? Then we would really see though who would win between Superman and Batman when Superman is actually trying. So I'm all for it.
No, it's raps. It's raps. Superman, like, have you guys watched The Boys?
No, not yet.
Is that the
Amazon?
one? Is that the one with the Superman type character and the
who's a piece of shit? A complete,
he's a douchebag. He's a Chad.
Utter shitbag.
Superman
yes,
Chad.
he is a Chad.
Yeah.
He's but like like one thing about Superman that's never like been like the standout thing about him for me was his laser vision. But that show makes me realize that if he just lets that shit loose, it's raps. Like nobody survives.
Yeah, man, like lasered down the crowd in his imagination, right?
Yeah, like can murder hundreds just by opening his eyes. Like that's that's absurd.
Yeah.
So No, Batman does not fuck with Superman if Superman is willing to murder. Like,
But if we can, I do want to talk about Darkseid a little bit. And the difference between the Snyder Cut and the Justice League was, in the Justice League, Steppenwolf was the big bad guy. He said at the end of the movie, "I am the destroyer of worlds." Like, he's like, I run this shit, man. He's trying to let them know. But what we saw in the Snyder Cut was,
maybe he'll take me back.
Maybe he'll take me back, Daddy. Yeah. Daddy, Darkseid, please let me back. I'll come home. I'll do the chores. Exactly. Like, we saw a submissive Steppenwolf where I like that too, because I felt more compelled to the story, knowing that. And this is like, it was like I said, it was giving me like a Marvel-esque. Like, it didn't feel like a climax movie, kind of like what I felt like with Justice League.
It gave Steppenwolf a purpose beyond destroying worlds.
There was a purpose. We need the cubes, but not just the cubes. We need the anti-life equation. And guess what? It's on this planet. And so seeing Steppenwolf in that submissive role, and it felt like he was so desperate too. Like,
and it hypes up Darkseid, because you're like, bro, man, Steppenwolf it seems like he might actually be able to fuck up everybody on Earth. Like,
that's the thing.
Like literally until Superman got there, they're pretty sure they were gonna lose. Like they had just about lost until Superman got there.
And that's why I like them beginning Steppenwolf's arc with like him and Themyscira, like beating the Amazons. Cause if he can fuck up the Amazons, he can pretty much fuck anybody up here on Earth, because they're the most well fortified place on Earth practically.
That's what I was thinking. I was watching that whole scene like, man, he seems to be running through the Amazons, and I know I ain't really done much research into them, but aren't they supposed to be strong as fuck? Like the whole tribe shit, everybody, like they knocked down a concrete building on that motherfucker.
Yep, and when we talk about plot changes and storyline changes, first, number one, Justice League, he just broke through the wall. They closed the front door, and he was like, "Oh, you see this wall right here? Bang!" Broke through it and came out. Yeah. Snyder Cut showed even how much more powerful Steppenwolf was, because they locked the thing down. The cliff took it down into the water. And then he just flies up out of nowhere. And so, and like, I like how that each scene with cubes being taken too were also dragged out in a way for us to see how powerful he was, and him just kicking people's butts, to set up him set it up for initially at the end, where it was like, okay, we can't defeat this man by ourselves. We need Superman. Like,
and that gives Batman much more purpose in this movie too. Like, like previously with Batman being so obsessed with resurrecting Superman, you didn't really get why, because Steppenwolf didn't seem that big bad. Like you were like, you can't handle Steppenwolf without Superman the first time around. This time, no, they could not handle Steppenwolf without Superman around,
Yeah, no, and it's just because like there's just too much shit that was supposed to be implied. Like shit that I saw in this movie was like things that I think that they were just like, oh, we'll just we'll what do they call it, retcon it if we need to. Like we'll tell them it happened. Like, but like there was just too goddamn much they skipped over for it to make sense, for it to justify like belittling Darkseid as a threat that much, because Darkseid is like the big bad. He is that motherfucker. Like he will crack some heads, and he will be there soon to do it. And you don't feel that fear coming out of the end of the theatrical cut.
Yeah, and what we got was a little bit of deja vu from Marvel side of things. Was we knew, or people who we knew, because they showed it in the movie. There's Darkseid. There's this bigger, badder guy. But also, if you're a fan of stuff, you know that, okay, well, there's some bigger, badder guy there in the universe. If you know how the comics and how the cartoons play out, you know that there's a bigger, badder guy. And we kind of saw that Darkseid at the end, deja vu Thanos saying, fine, I'll do it myself.
Yeah. I'll do it myself.
The dude said, we'll do it the old ways, which means that man's bringing the army, which hopefully we get some Justice League Unlimited up in here. We just pull in a whole bunch of, 300 different people. Green Arrow, pulling Siren, pulling
Fucking all of them.
all of them. Bring them all. I don't
them all.
mind.
Bring 'em.
So this
Maybe we
movie
tie into
became
Titans.
yeah.
Titans,
And the movie changed from the original Justice League, which was kind of like it was kind of set up like a finale. Even though at the end he was like, "What if we have a league of our own?" And I was like, "That's all we're getting is like the Legion of Doom."
Legion of Doom, yeah.
Like I mean, Legion of Doom is cool, but I mean, like the Justice League still wrecks them. I mean, like I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But like knowing that there's that bigger, badder figure out there, this movie became a setup movie to me. It became a setup movie for different directions that they can go now, compared to it just being like, oh, here's the finale of Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman, and it was kind of like thrown at us. And then, agree with me or cut in at any time. The Justice League original was just very rushed. It was just very rushed when it came to character development and storyline. I was confused at one point. I felt like I was lacking information and just lacking like intriguiness because it was just rushed. Cool.
Well, that was the same problem I had with I'm a switch properties here but Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. Like you felt like you just kept getting events. You didn't get any of the story. Things just kept happening subsequently, and it didn't seem to have a reason. It was just kind of like we're moving so fast paced, and we have so much story to fit in such little time that we have to show you the big moments, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Which is why I go back to what I'm saying. I liked how scenes were dragged out, like Themyscira, because it was okay. He popped up. They said seal the doors. They sealed the doors. He broke through the wall, and he chased after them. We didn't get to see him fight the 30 Amazonians inside of the thing, and then him breaking the. Oh, you saw Amazonians die. Like some of the Queen's closest allies die right in front of her. She's like, "Oh my gosh, they're dying, so I can get this out of here." And then him just hunt down them while they're on horses, just trying to get away. And he's just Hulk jumping across the land.
Yeah.
And so we got to see, like I said, I felt like that wasn't rushed, so I got to see like, wow, this guy is no joke.
Yeah,
and that's like the thing too is like making this movie so legitimate. Like that's what makes this movie is these like I'm usually bothered by excessive action sequences, but it felt like the action sequences were earned in this movie. Like we actually got to these action sequences because of things that they showed us, and I appreciated that.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I feel like when I don't remember much of the first Justice League because I didn't rewatch it, and I watched that years ago. But I just remember being confused as to why the hell Wonder Woman seemed to know so much. I'm like, why is she like? I get it, she's like one of the big dogs, but like, how does she even like? Why is she so important? Was she's all in the loop, and it was because she had the warning, and so she knew based off of that warning what the gravity of the threat was. The viewers, you don't see the like this massive destruction of Themyscira. You don't see like actually, I'm not sure if did they have the arrow? Do you remember if they have the arrow that Wonder Woman gets in the original?
They had the arrow in the original. They just were like, we need to fire. She just said we need to fire the arrow to let her know, and then it goes to the scene of them firing the arrow, and she sees that it's on fire. She goes, oh my gosh. She's like, war, but they don't show the scene of her going to the historical landmark and going down under, and then having revelations and seeing the tapestries on the wall. They cut all of that in the original Justice League. It was just she just said we need to signal that the box is taken.
When she was there at that Acropolis or whatever was some of the most beautiful shit in this movie.
Right.
Like when she walks outside of it and you see the view outside, and like, God, there were just some breathtaking shots like that in this.
That's the benefit of the 3x4, I think, too, because like those things, you come about those scenes and they automatically feel important. Like you're like
Clark
something's
Kent,
going on.
Like Clark Kent and Lois Lane back in Kansas in that cornfield, bro. Yeah. That shit was idyllic looking. Like that shit was beautiful. It was a painting, bro. It was lovely. I loved that shit. And it really lets you know that this is a beautiful moment he's having. He is coming to. He is remembering who he is.
Yes, because at first he was just a savage. And so I think also seeing that, because it kind of was like, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, he just saw Lois and now he chilling, huh? He cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, he cool. But seeing that in the Snyder cut now, you get to see him humanize and regain himself. And I mean, at first I was like, okay. I mean, at one point, I don't know if you guys thought the same thing, but when he was just pounding on Steppenwolf, I was like, is he if he's not like raging, is he like from his previous state before? Because they were talking about like, we don't know how he's going to be when he comes back, or if he's going to be whole again. And so when he was just pounding Steppenwolf, I was like, is he just like pinning him down, pounding him, or is he like trying,
Murdering.
like, is he about like raging? Yeah, is he murdering him? Like, is he going above and beyond because they just raised this man from the dead? He's a living zombie. But yeah, seeing him go back home and us also witnessing all the different stuff that we were seeing at that house, besides him just landing in the field with Lois, and then it comes back to that scene and he's standing in the cornfield with a shirt on, with that chest showing. I'm sorry. All right. But yeah. So seeing him go through his stuff and walk around the house, Superman. Seeing him walk around that house with that shirt off, he, it allowed us to, see him humanized again and become the Superman that we know and love, Clark Kent, Kal-El.
And and I like Wonder Woman feeling the need to call him Kal-El, and I like, and I love the emphasis the mom puts on when she talks to Lois Lane at the beginning of the movie. Like, you're the only person who could possibly understand the grief on top of a secret, like you have to you get to mourn, like we have to mourn Clark in silent because the world is mourning Superman in public, Yeah.
And, another thing, was the fact that, I forgot my thought, but I did want to say this though. When he was kind of rampaging, did you know that in the original Justice League, Batman had it planned? I mean, I'm pretty sure you might have noticed. Batman had it planned to bring Lois in for if he was going to be crazy and reckless. He told Alfred, "We have to bring the big guns." And when Superman threw him into a cop car in the original Justice League, he said, "Alfred, we need the big gun." And Alfred brought Lois Lane there. In the Snyder Cut, Lois Lane showed up on her own. Nobody brought her there.
Mm-hmm.
She saw what was going on when she was just walking downtown and saw the explosion or whatever. And she came to the scene. And I thought that was just very interesting. And I mean, I would want to, I can only assume why they did that. But I just thought that was very interesting on how, I don't know which one. I think I like the fact more. I mean, I guess it's easier for Batman, but I like the fact more that Batman was like, if anybody's going to like fix this problem, it's going to be Lois. Save him is going to be Lois. Then her showing up, but I mean, her showing up is cool too. I mean, that's all right.
Well,
I'm cool with
they showed early on in the movie this is something she regularly does. She goes by here all the time. Like this is no, like, so for her to be here at the time is no surprise, like it's But
she traded journalism for delivering coffee to the officers.
That kind of pissed me off. I'm not gonna lie. That early into the movie,
of course.
Early into the movie, I was like, bro, you don't gotta get them that coffee. They can get their own goddamn coffee. What the fuck?
Facts, bro. I was like, I'm fucking with Lois Lane, except for the fact that she's just buying cops coffee. Like, bro, I bet that cop walks over to that coffee stand, he gets it for free because that's just what cops do. Like
that's what cops do.
That cop was too happy. He said, "I thought you weren't coming this morning, woman." I was like, "Bruh, chill out,
I thought I was gonna have to call my wife."
Let's take your behind back to the Daily Planet, man.
But since we're talking about Lois Lane, and that was the only character flaw I found with Lois Lane is that she likes cops. But I loved a lot of the side characters in this movie. When we got Lois Lane and Cyborg's dad. Like, Cyborg's dad is the ultimate sacrifice. Like, that's fucking huge.
Oh, yeah.
Like, of all the people in this movie, the people who was supposed to be the emotional sacrifice of the movie was Cyborg's father. And I appreciated that a lot more, or just a lot, period, in this. We had something like that in this.
Yeah, and you talked about, we talked about the character development and seeing more of the characters. And yeah, I just think, Cyborg was something that we all needed and something that we all appreciated from the Snyder
Oh
Cut,
yeah.
because his dad being added into that, we knew he loved his dad, but he also just despised him. And it
Silas
was
Stone, right? That's his name, the dad?
Yeah.
Silas Stone, yeah. We knew he just despised him because of the fact that he felt like, he took his work more important than him. We see that in a lot of like movies, and that's real life too. People look for their dad's attention and for their love and admiration, and then when that's not there, they're hurt and they're frustrated. And so like
No, absolutely.
when he blamed his dad, he was like, if you were there, she'd still be alive. I was like, dang. I was like, he might have a point though. If his dad was there, maybe they would have talked for an extra 2 minutes after the game, and they wouldn't have ran into the car. But I mean, like, who knows?
Who knows? But also,
Yeah.
it's so stupid of them to leave that out, like, of the original cut, when like Cyborg is a product of the mother box. And so if you want to start to forge a connection to understanding sort of the capabilities of this box that nobody really knows the full extent of,
and the capabilities of Cyborg.
And capabilities, you have to do it through Cyborg's character. Like, he has to be the one to show and he is the one to show in Snyder's Cut kind of the capabilities of the mother box. But like mother boxes, like, just kind of seem like some random. It's like they dropped three big
Infinity
rubies
Stones.
on. Yeah, or Infinity Stones, or just something. It's like they dropped 3 random things on a planet, and they're like, "Oh, we got to go collect them now." And it's like, why do we have to go collect them before we do the whole thing? And they're
Getting
like,
that whole expansion on how they got there with Darkseid and like all those places from the universe leaving them on Earth. Like, and that scene was epic. That shit was fucking cool.
Mm-hmm.
Which is so important as well, because it was just like we were for the first Justice League. I was like, who's Steppenwolf? I don't know of a Steppenwolf. Who is Steppenwolf? What are these boxes?
Why are these other boxes here?
Yes, why are they here? But knowing that it was all making it in Snyder Cut, all related to Darkseid, and then elaborating on that throughout the thing. And I mean, I get it. I don't think there's been a 4-hour movie in the theaters since Lord of the Rings: Return of the King, so I understand why they probably do 4 hours, but it was a necessity. But go ahead, Colton.
I was gonna say that like in the first one with the introduction of the mother boxes here being from all over the galaxy helped so much for me. Because the first time I watched this, I was like, so you're telling me all these mother boxes that are the key to the fucking universe just happen to all be on Earth. They're just all right here.
Yep.
We never got that expansion the first time. I was like, so this key to the fucking universe, practically, they just all happen to be here?
It's just on Earth. All of them.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah.
Also,
why are they?
The anti-life equation just happens to be on Earth.
Happens to be here on Earth. And yeah, why?
It happens to be there because of how the mother boxes got there, and I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the backstory for that, is like Darkseid implanted the anti-life equation when they introduced the mother boxes.
And he didn't know it was Earth. He didn't know it was Earth. Yeah. This man the whole time was like, what's this long lost planet?
Interesting. He was just like, fuck it. Time to put the anti-life equation here. I'm not even going to look into where I'm at.
They didn't explain that well, exactly how that, maybe they did and I just missed it. But like, I was a little unclear on like, bro, how do you have the anti-life equation
and forget where you put it,
and then forget where you put it? Like, what? That doesn't even make sense, bro. If I remember anything, I'll remember the equation and take over the world.
The thing for me just has to be that like in their retreat, they didn't I think his plan here was he just implanted the anti-life equation and that was going to be that, but the opposition was so heavy that he had to abandon it. There wasn't a plan beyond implementing the anti-life equation, is what I think.
Yeah. And maybe there's a bigger plan as well with the anti-life equation. Maybe he, I imagine he wouldn't just place it for any reason. I mean, I don't know.
I think he was going to use it. Like he was going to take out all life, but then, the opposition was too great and he had to flee. So he didn't
I think like you said, Colton, he was going to use it, but then he saw Zeus and he saw some random dude shooting lightning out of his hands and he said, all right, gotta go.
Yo, Zeus looked fucking fire. I saw him. I was like, "Oh, who was that?" There was like Zeus. I was like, "Oh my god!"
We also got some Green Lantern action in there.
Green Lanterns. Yeah,
that man got clapped.
Yeah, that man did get. He got hit to rock. Like he was. It was like, no, we ain't fucking around with you aliens.
But seeing everybody teamed up like that was great, and
if you ain't Superman, you ain't shit.
Yeah, Wonder Woman looked at Aquaman and she was like, "Look at us." He said, "Yeah, look at us." She said, "Who would have thought?" Aquaman said, "Not me."
Not me.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm not gonna.
Go ahead, Tavarus.
Like on a last note, I feel like Aquaman still did, and like his movie, his solo film, kind of rectifies a lot of it. But I don't feel any closer to Aquaman after this movie. But that's the only
Not one
character,
bit.
really.
Well, yeah, that's what's interesting is that, like, I think because of the Aquaman movie,
Yeah.
like, they explain everything they need to explain about Aquaman's background and his origin in that movie. So, like, expanding upon his story here in the Snyder Cut isn't important. You know, maybe the first time around, because I don't think Aquaman was out yet when Justice League came out.
Nope.
So it's like that time around, it's like a little more important. Like, yo, at least let us know what this man, like, who this man is, what he's been doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
no,
yeah,
I don't know. Aquaman tripping. He got that baddie just drooling all over him, but she being mean, but she just like him. But like, he need to make a move, or I will. I can swim.
yeah,
I can swim.
You can swim.
I'm on my way to Atlantis right now.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I agree. I don't think Aquaman's characters. He's never shined in this movie, and he didn't shine in the Snyder Cut in particular. But he does.
Yeah, no.
He does have a few cool moments, regardless. You know, when he comes back and joins the fold at the bottom of Gotham Harbor, when Steppenwolf blows up the side of it, and he comes in through the side of the wall and holds back the water.
That was pretty nice, not gonna lie.
And
my
then
only problem was like, bro, like what next? Like, what are you gonna do with all that water? Like, y'all still about to drown if y'all don't do something quickly. Like,
yeah, exactly.
You just got bought about maybe a minute and a half.
And I also liked the moment towards the end where they were just knocking around Steppenwolf, and it was like Wonder Woman hit him to Superman, and then Superman hit him over to Aquaman, and Aquaman hit him with his trident, like it was fucking nothing. They were just passing this man around.
Yeah, that was nice. When Wonder Woman cut his head off before he went back through the portal, I was like, oh my god, they did not. Like, that shit is too savage.
I was like, okay, like Wonder Woman was like, I'm not asking any fucking questions about it. This man dies here now.
Yeah.
I am judge, jury, and executioner.
I just want to say nobody can tell me otherwise, but I do know the best scene in the movie.
What is it?
Flash, fast, just super fast, just outruns everybody. Nobody can see him moving. He's just running up like, oh man, I got Superman right in the back. He ain't gonna see it coming. Superman just turns his head slowly.
That super speed fight, speed fight, badass. Some of the coolest shit ever.
Flash's face when he saw that he was moving in the same time as him. Flash was confused.
Yo, and I love that when Flash was like, do, like, I'm gonna run up on this guy. It's gonna be no fucking problem. And then Superman just turns his head, like, fucking, nope.
Yeah, and he's like,
what you thought?
Bro, that shit was terrifying. If I was him, I would have been like, what the fuck? And then
I'd run the opposite way, bro. I'm done.
Didn't the Flash trip after that? He was like, "Oh fuck, I lost my foot."
Well, Superman trips him, yeah.
Yeah, Superman trips him, and then so he's dodging him, weaving him. He's like, "Oh yeah, I still got this," and then Superman just throws his whole body into him. Yep. And like, no matter how fast you are, he's not stronger than him. So that just threw Barry off. That man said
that shit where Barry tried to run at Superman and Aquaman was trying to stab him from behind. Superman just sidesteps him and Flash runs right into Aquaman. And then he just goes up and headbutts Wonder Woman hard as shit. She headbutts him back. Doesn't work. And then he like flies in the air and slams
and that was
down
tough too, yeah. Because I was like, okay, Wonder Woman. I was like, stand your ground. I was like, yes, sir. And then I was like, yes, sir. And then he said, oh, really? Man flew up. I said, shit.
It was then that I realized, man, Superman, they are his bitches. I'm sorry.
They are, bro. Like, and that's all you got. Like, none of them are ever fucking with Superman.
No.
So we found out he Lois's bitch.
You did find that out.
But I don't have a ton else to say about the movie. I really, really enjoyed it overall. Definitely liked it more than the original cut of the Justice League.
So much more.
Oh, so much better. And it was the Justice League movie, frankly, I've been waiting on. Yeah. Like, this is This is what I want out of these superheroes, because it didn't feel like Marvel. It felt genuinely like a Justice League movie. It felt right. And everything ends up exactly as you would kind of want it to.
Yep, setting up a whole like universe essentially of events and individual character stories.
Stand by what I said for now. I'm not saying it's a better movie, but I liked it better than Infinity War.
I'm with you.
I can understand that argument, honestly.
I can understand that. I can understand that for sure. I think I like Infinity War more just because it's hard. It'll take some more watches of this Snyder Cut for me before I officially go like, okay, this is one of my favorites ever.
That's what I'm saying. Like, even having this conversation, like, I might just fuck around and watch the Snyder Cut again tonight. Like, that shit was just too fire. And I want to know for sure that I'm not like just like being like, okay, it was just
riding its dick because of recency bias and shit.
Yeah. Like,
y'all can watch that again. Y'all speak for yourself. 4 hours of my ass. No, I'm playing.
Yo, that shit felt like 2 hours, bro. I don't
know. Low key, I loved every hour of it. Every minute. I loved it.
Every minute.
It all felt necessary. There wasn't a moment where I was like, all right, do we really need this? Like, it all went. It all went.
Somebody said to me, who's going to sit in a movie theater for 4 hours? I said, we sat in Endgame for 3 hours and 10 minutes. I was like, what?
Bro, you put out a 4-hour movie and it's Star Wars, Marvel, even DC, I'm probably going to watch it. Like, it's just, it doesn't matter to me. Like, I will watch anything you put out of any length if I am interested. It doesn't matter what the length is, you know?
I think that a lot of directors, and studios and producers should take notes of the reactions that people are giving off of the Snyder Cut and allow directors to release their cut if they want to, or if they feel like, if they feel like, based off of what the audience is saying, if the director's cut will be successful. Because if they did this for J.J. Abrams' Rise of Skywalker, I would absolutely love it. Because J.J. Abrams had a whole hour and a half more to that story that Disney was like, we need you to cut. Because we need to fit inside this time frame. So we need you to cut this, that, this, and that. So I can't believe
so much better.
So much better. So much better.
Could be so much better. But, you know,
capitalism.
Yeah, there you go. If this brings the question, since you mentioned the Rise of Skywalker too, if there's any movie you could get a director's cut 4-hour version of, what is it?
That's a trick question because, I mean, it'd be easy to say my favorite movie because I'll be like, oh, I want to see more of my favorite movie. But I'm thinking in the way of what's something I feel like I could have gotten more of.
Yeah, what you could have
I believe
more
had potential. So that's an interesting question to think of.
For me, I think the movie already did everything it had to and everything it wanted to do, but it could just be even more in depth. Is the Revenge of the Sith with Anakin's fall. I just could have said it, but I just didn't want to be biased with my favorite movie, Colton. But no, I knew what you were thinking. I knew when you were saying your favorite, like obviously you were going the Revenge of the Sith, like. But it's got to be that one, like for me anyway. Like I want more of that story with Obi-Wan and Anakin's fall apart, and maybe even like if you got a director's cut, throw in a little Ahsoka. I don't know.
Hey man, throw in the scene we all need to see. Master Skywalker, there's too many of them. What are we going to do?
And then it's just him chopping heads.
Need it. I mean, I'm all for saving the kids, but I'm all for Star Wars violence too.
Yeah, I don't even know what movie I would want a director's cut of. There's too many good movies.
There's so many movies, but I mean, like,
the question is, what movie is already all right, and then what
movie
do you think can be amazing?
Spider-Man 3, Tobey Maguire.
Okay.
Ooh.
Okay.
Because similar to Justice League, they crammed 2 villains and their storylines into a 2-hour frame.
3 villains. 3
villains. You're right. They crammed 3 villains into that 2-hour frame.
Yeah, and that was already a pretty.
That was a great choice.
And I know people don't like that movie, but I like that movie. And that's
I like it.
Spider-Man was my second favorite superhero. I love Spider-Man. I grew up on Spider-Man, and so I know there's Tom Holland and there's Andrew Garfield, but I am a Maguire fan. I love Tom Holland too, but like I'm just when I talk about the ones I grew up on are going to be my favorite, which is understandable. It's just like any our adults who like
Absolutely.
Star Wars prequels better than sequels. But Spider-Man 3, yes, I believe that I could see the director's cut of that because there's three villains thrown into there: Hobgoblin, Sandman, and Venom. That we just some of it felt rushed, and that's what a lot of comments people made. They were like, "You guys tried to jam pack all of this into one movie," and they were like, "That wasn't," and that was pretty much the downfall of that. That was part of the downfall of that series of movies because they talked about Spider-Man 4, but they were just like, "No, let's just reboot it." And then Andrew Garfield didn't work out, and they were like, "Oh, let's just reboot it." And so, we're on Tom Holland, but like, yeah, that Spider-Man, I'm gonna go with Spider-Man 3. I had to think about it for a little bit, but
I like that.
thought
That's a really good choice. Well, last thoughts on the Snyder Cut. Fucking great. I feel like we're all in agreement on that. It was definitely far better than the original. Tillman, thanks for joining the podcast for a bit to come talk to us about it.
Yeah, no problem. I just I didn't know, but did you guys also recognize that the Flashpoint wasn't a thing in the original Justice League at the end?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh shoot! I didn't realize that.
Mm-hmm. At the end, the little flying things were like they were kicking his Stephen Field's butt, and those things were like, oh, he was like, you know what they smell, and they were like, they smell fear. Batman said fear, and then they just swarmed him, and then he beamed up into the sky. We don't know where he went, but he just beamed up into the sky. But I meant to bring that up earlier. I just thought that was interesting that they added in that whole Flashpoint, like. Yes, the world is destroyed. They succeeded, but psych, here comes Flash. But yeah, that wasn't a part of the original Justice League.
Man.
But yeah, my final thoughts are great. I love the character development, and I can't wait to see what DC does next after that. I feel like you've done something good. Let's keep it that way, and let's build off of that. Without excessive fan service. So, but thank you for having me, and I highly appreciate the time, and I had a great time talking on your guys' podcast.
All right, thanks, and I'll talk to you again later tonight for the Falcon and Winter Soldier, huh, buddy?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Tab, last thoughts on Snyder Cut?
Hey, I mean, it's goated already. It's shown us what superhero movies can do, what a DC film should look like. Because for the longest, the question was just like, okay, we got Marvel, we know Marvel's fire. Now, what's DC gonna do? And then the second question is, well, how can they do anything when Marvel is so good? Why wouldn't they just like adopt the same strategy? How can they do something different but as effective? And I think that question. Zack Snyder had some very compelling answers to those questions that unfortunately were not profitable enough to rise to prominence.
Nevertheless, it was such a good time. Thanks for being out here with me, Tavarus. It was a pleasure.
This will definitely, I think we'll get on a much better recording schedule this way.
Oh yeah, absolutely. 100%. I think you can expect more weekly episodes with me and Tavarus for sure.
Yes, definitely. This was a pleasure. I liked having Tillman on. That was a good dynamic.
Well, addition. Yeah, and that's what the freedom of the remote podcast allows is inviting people on to discuss. Just because they don't have to leave wherever they are. Just hop on your computer and talk to me for a bit.
Exactly.
That's that. So, again, this was the Penny Bloom podcast. I was Colton Robertson, and that was Tavarus Pennington. If you enjoyed, please leave a rate and review. Share the show with a friend. We'll appreciate any of that we can get. And, any last thoughts, Tavarus?
No, I think we covered it all.
All right. Remember, peace, love, and bloom. And always praise Keanu Reeves.
Praise him.